Hi everyone, Carol here at Oak House Journals, and I'm going to do a flip through quickly this morning of the last 25 altered guest checks that I did for the 50 stack challenge. Amy is now on with the second challenge. Unfortunately I can't join that, but I'm hoping that she'll run a third one later on in the year and I'll be able to take part in that one. If you're interested, I've done a previous video that is a flip through of the first 24 guest checks. So I'm going to do a flip this morning of guest check number 25 through to number 50. Let me pop these to one side. This was number 25 and the prompt for this one was wax. So I went with some basic wax scribbling and then in with some inks. There's a little collage here and it just opens up like this. Very, very simple. Little vellum pocket in the bottom, little bit of an embellishment down here with some lace and a wax seal, and then that little card inside. And with all of these, there is a video showing my process for putting them all together, and that is just magnetized. This one I hated at the time, I really did. The prompt for this one was magazine. You had to use a magazine image. And I chose this one because of the girl in this teddy bear fur jacket. I loved her because she had a chicken and I liked this, counting chickens in a teddy fur jacket. So I just did a very, very simple little side tuck there. I used some of the leftover background when I was playing around for the background on this one to do some backing on that, and then just a very, very simple tag, and again more magazine bits down there. And also I think, if I remember right, the actual purple here, this lovely purpley colour, was also from the magazine as well. This one was obviously on the run up to Christmas, and the prompt for this one was doily. So I put a little snowflake in the centre there with some embellishment on the top, and I used a doily, as you can see, around the outside to form the base of a wreath, and then just layered up. And I really enjoyed doing this one. Tiny little snowflakes with some little green glitzy gems in the middle for the background. This one, oh, I love doing this one. The prompt for this one was paper strips. So I did crazy stitching on some strips that I just layered onto my guest check. And then I embellished it with die cuts and circles and scraps and little flowers down here. And I'll put some photos at the end for you to have a look if you want to. This one was stamped, so this was guest check number 29. So I stamped this image of a gentleman and then I paper pieced over the top of him, put glossy accents on his hat and on his walking stick. I embossed him when I stamped him, and then just used some gorgeous textured paper down here, and as you can see, some texture paste up there. Oh, love doing this one as well. This one was ink, and I played with texture paste through a stencil. Then I dribbled my inks down it, and then added some foiling, and then inked this heart. And yeah, that's that one. Move on. The next one was child, number 31. So obviously I used this little chappy on the front there to create a tag, and there's a little vellum pocket at the back there with a stamp in it. There's a little red piece of red velvet wrapped around there. This was a vintage envelope, oriental style envelope, Asian envelope, a rough tuck spot up there, just some lace scraps, and then this opens up and there's a little pocket down there, and then this opens up and another little vellum pocket in there with a piece of temple paper in, and it's held together with a Tim Holtz paper clip, and that just sits in that pocket there. Let's get it in straight, and then just some more collaging down the side, and there's a little vintage postcard tucked in this side pocket. So there we go, that goes in there. And then that goes under that little tuck spot under there. This one, the prompt for this one was ribbon. So as you can see, I've used some ribbon up there. I've got a swallow. I created a background by making my own stencil and creating some clouds up there. I fussy cut swallow and then use the edge of some organza ribbon as the string to dangle him from, and then a little bit of fussy cutting at the bottom there. The prompt for this one was hole reinforcer. So I created a hole reinforcer there. I've got a little tuck spot, this undoes with a little bit of string. This flips up. There's a little journaling card there. This flips down. There's a little tuck spot at the bottom there, and another one in there, and then there's a little side tuck here, like that. So that folds up, this goes in here, that folds down, and that goes up and around my hole reinforcer up there. So that's that one. This one was numbers, so this is guest check number 34, and I just created a hangy tag for this one. So there's my hangy tag, there's my numbers underneath there, and then I used a stencil to put numbers on the background here. So there's numbers in texture paste, numbers in the paper, these are remnant rubs, hangy tag with a number card, and one of the Ranger plaquettes, mini plaquettes on there as a little bit more embellishment. This one was 36 window envelope. So I used a window envelope and covered it and put a Grinch character inside and put some little confetti inside as well, and stitched all the way round. And then I used the back of the envelope, and this is the inside of the envelope, to add as a background for my little Grinch character there. This is guest check number 35. I've taken these out of order, sorry. That numbers is number 34, this is number 35, and this one that I've just shown you is number 36. So the prompt for this one was yellow. I used a little tag here, as you can see, to do a little bit of embellishing at the bottom. I've used texture paste down here to create a honeycomb. Yellow obviously for my background, with, I think, probably looking at it, Distress Inks, and because of the shimmer, I know I used Bruscotti, my shimmer mist on it, and I made some acetate wings for the bees, and then put a die cut up here, and then put some gorgeous sort of iridescent top coat that I have in amongst my stash inside the die cut for a little bit more interest. So as I say, that's number 35. This one is number 36. Get them in order. So this one is 37. The prompt for this one was a flower. So I've got a little tiny Tim Holtz paperclip with a bit of voile there. And then I've got some gorgeous background paper, a die cut flower here, little label with some fabric underneath. This flips down. And then I took some die cuts, coloured them up with my felt tip pens, and popped them inside this vellum pocket down here. Really like how that one turns out. It's lovely and pretty. This one is number 38, and the prompt is form. So I've got obviously here two of the little Tim Holtz dolls. They're sat on a number 29. There's an ephemera piece, again Tim Holtz ephemera piece there. I've got a ticket stuck behind them, which again Tim Holtz ephemera piece, and I've got this identification card stub there. And then this is a locking envelope. So if I gently pull it like that, I've got the whole thing made out of an old vintage telegram form dating back to 1868. So I really like how this one turned out, and it all tucks nicely into itself. And the great thing is that unless you know it's a locking envelope, you can't spot. Just pop that bit in there. There we go. Just trying to be very careful with it because I don't want to damage it, that document. And as I say, unless you know that that is a locking letter, you wouldn't know that there is anything inside. I think perhaps maybe the top might give it away if you look closely. So that was that one. This one was 39, and we had to use a punch. Well, I used various punches to create my little Yoda character down here. And that's that. And I think I used a punch to punch out my moon up there. Not sure, can't remember now, I'll have to check. This one was number 40 and brown, so we had to use anything that was brown on this piece. So I used some lovely cardstock from my stash that has gorgeous tones of brown on it. I've got this faux metal number on the front there. I've got this little brown ticket, and they go in this little corner tuck down there, and then I did a side tuck here with a hangy tag, and again, as you can see, shades of brown on this one. So a very simple one for this. So that goes there, and I just angle it out to one side. And then in the back here, I used a paper bag and popped in another tag, and this was a layaway tag, I think it was, with various pieces of brown paper to embellish it front and back. So that goes inside there and tucks into its brown paper bag. This is guest check number 41, and the prompt for this one was burlap. Now, because I don't like burlap, I didn't have any burlap fabric in amongst my stash, and I didn't want to buy any. So I actually used some Hessian and some Liberty fabrics to do some applique work and piece together this little hair here. And to embellish it, I just did some stitching using the threads from some Hessian ribbon, and there's some more threads down there. I had a little stamped piece of fabric with an eyelet, so I put that on and fussy cut a flower out of the Liberty fabric that I used for the body of my little hair. So I was really pleased how that one came out. The first attempt at piecing this all together went really badly wrong. Didn't look nice at all, but I'm pleased with how this little one came out. Oh, this one, this is Doodle, and it was number 42. I had to pause then for a minute because I was thinking, doodle, how did I translate that? But I remember now. This was an idea that I saw Louise Heinzel do, and it involves free motion embroidery stitching. Now you doodle with a pen, and I thought that free motion stitching is the same thing, it's just doodling with thread and a machine. So that's how I translated that prompt, and I just came up with this little flower embellishment, and yeah, I quite like how this turned out. Had a little image of a girl, so I popped her in the centre there. She's very, very cute. And then to finish it off, I just added some texture paste at the top. This background here, I've sprayed with Distress Oxide inks, and it was the same fabric that I used on the previous guest check. This one was stamped, so this was guest check number 43. This one didn't turn out at all like I imagined it would. But I created, if I pull my journaling card out of there, this is just a Tim Holtz ephemera piece. I used all these stamps and glued them initially onto some tissue paper and then just stitched over the top. And I had envisaged that that would be something akin to a cargo net with the stamps sort of embedded into the threads, and I could have it as a flip up, but it wasn't going to work. It was too wobbly, too delicate. So what I did was I glued it down, and then I just did a simple collage at the front here, used some vintage papers to create a pocket, and then, as I say, put that Tim Holtz ephemera piece in there to finish it off. This one I had great fun with. Now this one was mark making, number 44, and I was really out of my comfort zone for doing this one. So I created my background, then I used the end of a paintbrush in some acrylic paint to make some random marks in yellow, and then I came in using a pen just to squiggle around them and then to do some rough lines top and bottom, and then I finished it off with some stitching. I ended up having 3 of these on the go, and then I picked one, which was this one, as my choice for my altered guest check. But I still have this one left over, and this was one of the other pieces that I auditioned. I do like how this one came out, and I've just popped it in amongst the others just because I like it. This one was guest check number, I think it must have been 45? Yes, guest check 45. I haven't written it on the back here. 45, because this one was 46, yeah, and this one was retro. So for that, I decided to use a camper van to do a little bit of paper piecing to kind of jazz up the camper van. I put in a little hidden journaling spot or tag tucked in this pocket here, and I can't get it out now. There we go, in the pocket there, which goes either way around depending on your mood. And then I did the VW logo on the front. And then for this one, this was guest check number 46. The prompt for this one was man. So I set a challenge by Maggie to dig out my watercolour paints and to start painting. Now, I'm no good at watercolour painting at all. I'm self-taught, but I do love having a dabble. So I went with a really easy image here. I created a background using my watercolour paints, and then I just went in again with just black watercolour paint to create this little man, and then oodles and oodles of white scraped over the top to try and mimic rain. So we're down to the last 4 guest checks of the challenge, and this is number 47, and the prompt for this one was watercolour, which really made me chuckle when I heard Amy pull that prompt out of the bag because of Maggie's challenge for the previous guest check. So out came the watercolour paints again. But I have to say, I had fun doing it, and it was good practice, as so many of you said, to try and match up the colours with the colours on the images that I chose. I didn't do particularly well, but it can only help to perhaps improve my watercolouring abilities, can't it? So yeah, really enjoyed doing that one. I actually like this one on the top better than this one behind. I perhaps got into my rhythm a bit better with this one. So that was number 47. This one, number 48, the prompt was bird, and I ended up repurposing an old envelope. So this opens up like that. I've got a couple of little vellum pockets here with some stamps in. I've got a journaling card that I made for in the pocket here. And that one just goes in there. I've got it in at an angle for some reason. There we go, that's better. And then inside, I've just got this lovely little stamped image on some handmade paper. This flips up, and then a little sample sheet there and some handmade paper. Just a couple of sheets, nothing too bulky, and then it just closes up like this. I knew I'd like doing this one. I wasn't sure I would have enough of the envelope to be able to do what I wanted to do. Certainly all I was going to do originally was use the card on the reverse and just make up my own collage or journaling card or something like that and glue that to the front of the guest check. But then when I realised how much was going to be wasted, it was just not on, so I decided I would make it into this little envelope type thingamabob. Oh, this one, I absolutely love doing this one. It was a challenge, only really in terms of trying to decide what to do for ruffle. All I could think of was a fabric ruffle or a paper ruffle. I did want to try and find some images like these with ruffles, and I actually thought that maybe I could put lace on top and alter the image in some way, but I didn't really think that I could pull that off, so I've left it. But I actually used some ruffled voile. I had a strip of it, altered that slightly to make a belly band style closure, and then made a little triple pocket pull out thing with, or out of, a lovely old vintage document. Almost sacrilege, as I said at the time, to use, but I did have fun working with it, and I love these little images. This one is a little kind of journaling, and I can get it open and show you, little kind of journaling spot inside with a fold down bit. And then we have this lovely lady in here, and as you've seen, they've all got these Elizabethan style ruffs for their necks. So there we go. So that was that one. Let's pull that little girl out a little bit and pop the belly band on. Just catches a little bit on the voile on the corners, but there we go. And I love the pleated voile in the back of this, which actually mimics a little bit the ruffs that they're wearing, or so I thought. That was my idea anyway. And then this was my very last one, which you will have seen, and again I used another lovely vintage document, one of the background papers, painted background papers that my lovely friend Jeff does for me and has sent me throughout the year. And the prompt for this one was a circle, and this was an oval that I cut out here to put my word in the centre. But to hit the prompt, I put an eyelet in the top up there, and Amy has said all the way through that if the prompt is black, so long as you've got a hint of black on your piece, that's fine. If the prompt is, oh, I don't know, watercolour, then so long as you've got a hint of watercolour somewhere on your piece, you've hit the prompt. So I took her literally on this one. So there we go, everybody. Thank you so much for all your encouragement and support all throughout this challenge. I've had an absolute ball. So as I've said previously, a massive thank you to Amy for hosting this challenge. That's the end. There won't be another video in this series from me, and I'm not joining the second 50 stack challenge only because I've got other commitments on the go, but I've got my fingers crossed here well and truly that Amy will be doing another 50 stack challenge later on in the year that I can join in. So until then, everybody, take care. Bye bye now.